It is the last day of Edo governorship election campaign, and all campaigns will now stop, and eyes are on Saturday, the 21st of September 2024. And President Bola Tinubu will not be attending the United Nations General Assembly. He says he will be staying back in the country, while his Vice President Kashim Shettima will be leading Nigeria's delegation to the UN General Assembly. Hello everyone, welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale in Benin City, the capital of Edo State, in our makeshift studio as we look up to the very day, the day the people of Edo State have been looking forward to for months now, to elect their governor, the 21st day of September 2024. Welcome to our coverage of the election. Tonight is the last moment that we will be saying in the campaign. I'm talking of anything partisan ahead of Saturday. And tonight, my guest will be talking about what he has done over the last 2 terms that he's been in office. He will be telling us why the people of Edo State should look in the direction of his party's candidate. He's not on the ballot, but it's very crucial to the ballot. How crucial will be his thought tonight on the race. It's important for you to sit tight and listen to this conversation, everyone. But let's let you know that the President Bola Tinubu will not be attending the 79th United Nations General Assembly session in New York this year. The President has decided to stay back in the country, and he has directed his vice, Senator Kashim Shettima, to lead Nigeria's delegation. It was a statement released today by Mr. Bayo Ononuga, the president's spokesperson, that reviewed all of this. In the statement, it says that the president will return to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flooding in parts of the country. At the UN General Assembly, the 79th session, Vice President Shettima will deliver Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly, attend important sideline events, and hold bilateral meetings. Of course, a lot has been happening right here in Edo State as we look up to that election. We'll bring you up to speed with what is happening. Yaga Africa is one of such civil society organizations that are preparing for this election. They've released their pre-election observation statement today in a press conference held in Benin City earlier. They said what will be crucial for this election and important notice for the voters ahead of Saturday. Take a listen to some of the convener and the executive director of the organization.
Thank you for being here. We'd like to apologize that we briefing, but we're just going to start right away.
Has released the guideline for today's election. This will give details of what the election will entail, how the election will go, the procedures of how the election will be. Of course, the details of that document you can find on our website, www.channelstv.com. Tonight, I will be having one conversation with the executive governor of Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki, who is live with us right here in our makeshift studio in Benin City. But before we get talking with him, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The president has directed Vice President Kashim Shettima to lead Nigeria's delegation to the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, According to the presidency, President Tinubu, who returned to the country last Sunday after his trip to China and the United Kingdom, wants to focus on domestic issues and address some of the country's challenges, especially after the recent devastating flood. Vice President Kashim Shettima will deliver Nigeria's national statement to the General Assembly, including holding bilateral meetings with some selected foreign officials. A special delegation of the House of Representatives, led by former Majority Leader and Chairman of the Northern Caucus of the House, Honorable Alhassan Adodogua, has visited Borno State to sympathize with the people of the state over the recent flood disaster. The delegation, which is mandated by the Speaker, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, on behalf of the entire member of the House, donated a sum of 100 million naira to support persons affected by the flood. And the Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has granted the request of the federal government and the former Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Walter Onogen, to settle out of court in an appeal challenging his removal as CJN. The decision of the court followed information that the two parties have intensified efforts to reach an amicable settlement of all issues in dispute. At the day's proceedings, the lead counsel to the former CJN, Ogwu Onoja, informed the court that the two parties are already having discussions on a peaceful resolution of the dispute. The governor of Edo State, Gordon Obaseki, and the governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Aswe Ighodalo, today led a last-minute campaign to solicit support from the people of the state. The PDP team moved through some major markets in Benin City, the state capital, majority of which are dominated by Igbo traders. Addressing various market union leaders, Governor Obaseki urged the traders to see Saturday's governorship poll as another investment into the business by voting the PDP. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume, believes that some of the problems facing Nigeria will come to an end if the local government system works efficiently. Senator Akume said this during a courtesy visit by a delegation of the National Association of Nigerian Students in Abuja. He appealed to all arms of government to work in synergy to alleviate the sufferings of Nigerians.
Thank you so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Today, we've been seeing the deployment of materials and the distribution of same to the different local government areas, and that emerged from the Central Bank of Nigeria's office here in Benin City. Party officials, INEC officials, and security officials were on the ground where these activities held today in Benin City. And of course, a lot of what happened was to ensure that the materials are not compromised. So party agents and representatives of political parties were on the ground to see for themselves what exactly these materials entail and how they are deployed and dispersed out of the Central Bank of Nigeria's office. This election is going to be very crucial. Let me bring you some data that is very important that you need to know. Some are talking about partisan data and figures that are important for you to have an idea going into this election. But there's some basic information that you need to know, some of which include the local government areas. Edo State has about 18 local government areas, 18 local government precisely, 192 wards in Edo State, 3 senatorial districts, and out of these senatorial districts, there are 6 local government areas that are majorly within the riverine terrain. And the number of state constituencies are 24, federal constituencies are 9, and the number of polling units have now grown from the last time in 2020 to 4,519 polling units in Edo State. This time around, we saw the last time around, I think it was 18 candidates who jostled for this seat, and the same number are jostling for this seat. Only one woman candidate is the governorship candidate in this election. And of course, the distribution of PVC, very impressive of what we have seen. The percentage of collected permanent voter cards is 85.57% as of 16th September 2024. The number of registered voters is 2,629,025 voters are registered in Edo State out of the over 4 million population has been captured lately. Number of collected PVCs are just 2,249,780, and the number of uncollected PVCs, which now may not be collected because time to do that is now over, 379,244. Now, let me give you an understanding. For those of you who have been following election in Edo State for a while, from 2012, these are the pattern of the governorship election in Edo State. From 2012, you will see that the ACN at the time had 76% of vote of 477,000, and PDP had 144,000 vote. And of course, it was Adams Oshiomhole who was the candidate of the ACN at the time. In 2016, APC, the party that has been metamorphosed into APC, then polled 319,483 votes. That's 52% of the entire vote cast, while PDP had 253,173 votes. In 2020, it was the PDP who won the election with 377,955 votes, with 57% vote lead margin, and APC had 223,619 votes. And of course, in the presidential election in 2023, the Labour Party did very well at 331,163 votes, while the APC came second in the state with 144,471 votes, with PDP 89,585 votes. But the question you will be asking yourself, we see two horse races in this race. When Adams Oshiomhole was running, it was a two-horse race. We saw him head-to-head with Osage Eze-Iyamu. We also saw Godwin Obaseki ran head-to-head with Osage Eze-Iyamu. It's always been a two-horse race. But this time around, there are those who will say, is it a three-horse race? Let me bring you to, for those who are saying it's a three-horse race, the Labour Party candidate, who is he? Olumide Akpata of the Labour Party, born October 1972, 51 years of age, is a lawyer and now thrown his hat in the ring to be a politician. He's being a president of the Nigerian Bar Association, and up until when he recently stepped aside, he was the senior partner and head of corporate and commercial practice at the Templars law firm in Lagos. Now, Asue Godalo is of the PDP, 65 years of age, a lawyer too, but he's got his hands on issues of economics. He's being a chairman of the Sterling Bank PLC, headed Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority, chairman of the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. That's who the PDP candidate is, Asue Ighodalo. What about the APC candidate? 55-year-old Monday Okpebolo of the APC, August 1970 is recorded. He was born, is a Nigerian businessman and politician. Is a sitting member of the Nigerian Senate since 2023. Well then, now you have some of these data. Very crucial for you to have on your left hand as you go into tomorrow, because no more campaigns, no more partisan conversation. It's going to be eyes on how you're going to go to the polls wherever you may be. If you're out of Benin City or Edo State, put your eyes, follow Channels Television as we cover all of the election for you. But there is one man that has put himself in this race. His name is not on the ballot, but his interest is perhaps as great as those whose names are on the ballot. He's the governor of Edo State. Governor Godwin Obaseki is live with us right here in our Benin City studio. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Benin.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. For the first time, you are not going to be on the ballot on Saturday.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Well, you can only have 2 terms as a governor. I knew my term will come to an end on November 12th this year. And so I'm adjusted to that. I wasn't expecting to be on the ballot. However, I naturally will have an interest in who succeeds me, particularly because of the amount of work and reforms that we've undertaken in the last 8 years of our politics. So much has happened, so much has changed, so much are still at a nascent stage. And so it's important that the process of guiding Edo to being great again must be to make sure that whoever succeeds me can continue on the trajectory that we currently are.
Is that the reason why you brought your friend to succeed?
Well, Aswe Godalo has always been part of the Edo reform agenda since 2016, when we constituted a team to bring in Adams Oshiomhole and put in place an economic program that saw him through.
So you worked for Adams Oshiomhole?
He was part of the economic team I chaired.
Which you headed?
Yes. So he's not a stranger to this process.
So is that the reason? I mean, does that explain why you have to bring your friend? Because there are those who think that this is now becoming a party agenda.
It's beyond that, Shimon. You see, what we must understand is that development is a process. And you can't bring in strange bedfellows and expect to have a coherent, consistent, and aligned program. In 2016, when we decided to come and support the reform agenda, Edo was at its lowest in terms of economic growth, in terms of physical development, and a lot of us Edo citizens in Lagos who were doing well, relatively doing well, were just concerned. And there were quite a few more. He wasn't the only one. There were about a dozen of us who came together and said, enough of the lamentation. Let's support the process of reform. Let's contribute, selflessly, by the way. I mean, Aswe Godalo, when I called him to join the team in 2016, in the first meeting, said, look, he's not here to waste his time. And if the governor at that time was not prepared to accept and work with the reform agenda, that he was going to pull out. And the first meeting, I recall him saying he didn't want any allowances. He wasn't part of the process of, he didn't come here for allowances. He wanted to pay to serve. So it's always been about service. It's always been about contributing to the development of Edo. And I think for us, the common factor, that underlying factor was that here we were, I'll say from Edo State, relatively successful in our various chosen professions, but couldn't come home, because we're all worried and concerned about what was going on at home. And then, like I said, we were at the lowest ebb. Edo was the butt of jokes in Nigeria at that time. The women were held in such low esteem. If comedians were the joke of comedians. What is the capital of Italy? They say Edo State, for instance. The children were not going to school.
Have you changed any of those?
Phenomenally.
You have figures to support that. I mean, definitely. You are a man who dealt in a lot of figures when
definitely.
You were in the private sector.
Definitely.
Because there are a lot of people, there was a very big banner when you were running for office the first time in 2016, and you said it was very bold about 1,000 of jobs that you said you were going to
200,000 jobs. And
have you done that?
We have exceeded that substantially.
Can you break it down for us? Where these jobs are? Because those who are working and those who are in Benin City or Edo State generally, I will imagine, I don't have a job, I cannot feed. Where is the governor getting these figures and this from?
What we've done in Edo is kind of substantially improve the environment to do business. As of 2016, the level of migration out of Edo State was outstanding. At a point in time, the International Office of Migration came and showed me data where Edo clearly ranked tops in terms of irregular migration and human trafficking. And at some point, there were almost 30,000 Edo boys and girls in Libya waiting and hoping to cross into Europe. Today, Edo is not top 10, on that list of people who are migrating irregularly out of the country. If anything, we're seeing people migrating into Edo State at an alarming rate. Most of our villages are full of foreigners who are seeking opportunities in agriculture. In most of our cities, Benin City, Ekpoma, Auchi, you're seeing rapid infrastructural growth, rapid growth in housing, and most of the workers around sites are from outside of the state. So the data is there, the evidence is there, the economy has grown rapidly. In fact, almost 10 times its size in real terms since 2016. And that growth has been where the jobs have come from. Jobs have come from areas like IT, jobs have come from agriculture, jobs have come from technology, I can go from construction, I can go on and on and on. So the underlying economic growth in the state has been the key driver for jobs.
But then those who will say, if you say these jobs are being, you provided these jobs, what was the unemployment rate when you got into office? What is it now? You are going to be exiting in a matter of months. Where did you meet it? And what is it now? What are the indices?
The challenge with Nigeria is data. When it comes to data, such discrete data, yes, you'll find some data that said, unemployment was about 77%. But when you disaggregate that data, it's like, okay, in which areas, which sectors, what's the demographics of the employment? What I know, however, is that today, whereas we were not creating as much as 10,000 jobs a year in 2016, today we're creating in excess of 50,000 jobs a year. And I can point to where these jobs are coming from.
But why has the indices of the unemployment rate not gone down?
Well, because
if you say you're providing the jobs,
like I said, because of the way that data is calculated or put together. But let me tell you for it. Take agriculture. Just take oil palm, right? In the last 3 years, we've put about 70,000 hectares of land under oil palm cultivation by over 10 companies. Each hectare employs about 2 to 3 people. So whether it's land preparation, it's preparing the nurseries, planting and maintaining the estates. So in the area of agriculture, just oil palm, not to talk about cassava, not to talk about the industries that have come in, you're looking at thousands of jobs on an annual basis. And that's why I'm sure on a flight to Benin, a day or two ago when you came in, the planes were full. This premises you're using, check occupancy, is full. And this facility and many others like this were not here 5 years ago.
So you think that you have changed things around?
Yes, definitely.
In terms of GDP, what is that looking like? In terms of your revenue, internally generated revenue, how have you grown that?
Well, in terms of GDP, in 2016, our GDP, after the rebasing of Nigeria's GDP, was about $10 billion. Today it's in excess of $26 billion. In terms of revenues, when I came into office, we're struggling with revenues, monthly IGR of about 1.8, 1.9 billion a month. Today, in fact, just looking at the numbers for August, we were at 6.5 billion a month. So we've seen the IGR treble, grown 3 times. And in terms of IGR ranking in Nigeria today, Edo is number 6. Number 1 is Lagos, number 2 is FCT, number 3...
In terms of the figures and in terms of the growth?
In terms of figures. In absolute terms, we're number 6. And see the states that are ahead of us. Lagos, FCT, River State, Ogun, Delta, right? And we come 6. At number 6, we're bigger than Kano. We're bigger than Oyo State, for instance. So that tells you so much has happened here. So from about the ranking of 22, we're now at number 6.
Well, the question would then be, yes, you got this lots of money, and then there will be those who will say, since you got into office, you've received in excess of over 100 billion as a governor. What have you done with that? Some roads, your opponent will criticize you to say they are in a devastating form, and you can list a whole lot of roads in Edo State that are being devastated and left in and now it's in fact raining, and some of these roads are impassable. So if you say you've gotten this loads and loads of money. How do you defend to the people of Edo State who voted into office that this is what you use their money for?
Well, I think it's rather sad that you evaluate development just in terms of things, infrastructure like roads alone. You know, roads are important, but they're important for a purpose. What do they do? Why do you build infrastructure like roads, electricity? Why? It's to improve the human conditions and human circumstances. In the case of Edo State, it's on record, the data is there. There is no government in Edo State that has built as many roads as my government. Over the last 8 years, we've built in excess of 1,400 kilometers of road. And what is interesting about these roads are they are internal roads to Edo State. Edo has a very significant opportunity in terms of its location. Edo is at the hub of transportation in Nigeria. So you cannot go from the western part of Nigeria, from Lagos, west, to the east, or to the south, or to the north without going through Edo. And all of those road networks are federal roads. So Edo, for instance, has, one of the largest network of federal roads. And they crisscross even the center of the city. So whether it's the road coming in from Lagos Obowo Road, which is a major artery, it's a federal road. I can't touch it, they will not allow me to fix it. Whether it's the road going south-south to Sapele, to Warri, that's a federal road, I can't touch it. And the federal government will not fix it. Whether it's the one going to the north, the Auchi Road, Akopaba Road, these are all federal roads. Even when we've appealed to the federal government to allow us, it hasn't happened. I'll give you an example.
But states actually construct federal roads and get repayment later on.
No more. It used to be, but not anymore. And I'll tell you, we haven't had some more interesting road financing for roads. Take the Benin-Asaba Road, right? We joined the concessionaires to be partners with the concessionaires so that that road can be fixed. Money has been raised, but for 1 year, the federal government has refused to give final approval. So what do we do? So what we've done instead is to build our own alternative state roads. So if you are going to Edo North, for instance, today, you don't have to go through the main federal road. You just go through our roads, the ones we've constructed from Sobe to Sabongidaora, for instance, going into Edo North. On the eastern flank, ditto the same thing. So we're constructing alternative internal state roads.
But these roads are often flooded, Governor.
Not the ones we have designed recently and built. The roads you will talk about are maybe the roads in the GRA when they were designed and built many, many years ago. They didn't have need for drainage. But today, there's been 2 master drainage plans and studies and construction that has occurred that we are now using to plan construction of roads.
Do you know the name they call you? Mr. MOU, the MOU governor.
Yes.
You signed a lot of that.
Yes.
Well, how much of that have you practically bring to bear?
Very interesting, because the president just came from China and he signed quite a few. And why MOUs? You sign memoranda of understanding when you want to bring in a partner to do a business with you. So, everything we've done for us as government, our responsibility is not to do business. It's to partner and bring in partners to do business with us. The responsibility of government is to provide the enabling environment for business to happen. And since you are not the one putting your money in a particular venture, you have to sign an understanding with that person that you will do certain things for that project to happen. And that is what we have done. And fortunately for us, 80% of the MOUs we've signed have materialized.
80%?
80%.
Can you name some of these projects?
So, take the Edo refinery project, for instance. It's up and running.
Is it on stream now?
It's on stream.
How much of content does it produce per day?
Well, when it gets crude allocations, it produces everything. But
has it been tested? Has it been primed?
Precisely. So if you have time, I'll ask you to just visit and see yourself. But the opposition has a very powerful negative machinery because they were not able to do this. If you look at a retail space, for instance, ShopRite, struggled to have retail malls, for instance. Today, it's there for you to see. we're building what's it called, a major 4-star hotel with the Radisson Group. It's there. These are these are all projects.
Is that still in the hands of? Because there are those who say that now has fallen into you and your friend's hands.
Well,
it's off the state government's hands, and the state government has spent money into it.
No, government has recovered more. It's all its money plus a profit. So we recovered all our money, and we have a 20% stake. So that's the whole idea of financial engineering: creating things when you don't have the money and making it happen.
And this, you mentioned only 2 of this MOU.
You know, everything else, whether it's the ethanol plant, the Greenfield ethanol plant, I can go just mention the MOU we've signed, and I'll show you the project.
All right, we're due for a break. We take a break, everyone. Governor Godwin Obaseki is still with me. There are those who say it's a do or die this election. I'm going to ask him why he says so. Why his party refused to sign the peace accord? And going into this election, as the governor, does that portend well for the people of Edo State? This and more after this time out, everyone. We'll be right back. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us. Welcome back to the program. Let's get to our conversation now with Governor Godwin Obaseki, the Executive Governor of Edo State. Thanks so much indeed for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so, you will be winding down, your administration will gradually be winding down, but how would you say you have impacted on the lives of the Edo people? The mandate that they gave you, would you say today that you have been able to do well to the people of Edo State?
On September 21st, you will see, Shehu, because you have parents of about 400,000 children in my basic education system whose children's lives have been impacted. The children in our school systems are now learning. I have almost 300,000 young men and women who we've found places for, found jobs for, we've given trainings to, who today are doing things for themselves. Just drive around Benin City and a few other cities like Ekpoma and Auchi and see the number of SMEs, small businesses that have taken off in the last few years. Look at the civil service. We have about 40,000 civil servants today who are today technologically literate. We run a government that's paperless. We pay the highest minimum wage in Nigeria. Our government is working for the people once again. I can go on and on, Jill, that I'm so confident because I've walked around this day. I have seen the improvements, I've seen the changes that have occurred, and Edo people, don't want to go back to those dark days.
Why does it look like a lot of people are still not happy?
A lot of politicians,
because they believe that you've not done enough.
A lot of politicians are not happy.
Would you be able to beat your chest that you have done your best?
Absolutely.
And you are able to utilize all the resources to the best of your ability for the people of this state?
Look at the data. It's not me saying it. Ask international agencies like the World Bank. Ask people like the Gates Foundation. These are people who work with us on an ongoing basis and support have supported all our reform projects and agenda. And they're so always willing to use Edo as the case study, as the example, and give through resources and support to just help.
But what about the debts that you still hanging around the necks of the state?
No. Still, they talk about debts. We are the government that's taking the least debts. What has happened is that the bulk of the debts we have are foreign debts, international debts, mostly from the World Bank. These are 20, 30-year-old, debts with 20 years moratorium with less than 1% interest. So the servicing of those debts is not burdensome at all. And the challenge we've had is every time the federal government devalues its currency, the debt stock goes up, not because we borrowed more.
You've always blamed the federal government. You think that they've badly handled the economy.
Shame. Nigeria is technically bankrupt. And
is there a way out?
Well, when you are bankrupt anywhere in the world, like in the States, you file for what you call Chapter 11. You restructure your affairs so that you can reorganize and be able to meet your obligations. Nigeria is not restructuring its affairs. It's still behaving as if it had money, like it used to.
So Nigeria is in trouble financially.
It's been in trouble for a while. And
we're insolvent. That's what you mean.
I won't say insolvent. I'm saying we just
when you say we're bankrupt.
Technically, in the sense that we don't have enough to cover our expenditure, and we're not reducing our expenditure, and we're not earning more.
If you had the opportunity to change things around, what would you do?
It's a total redesign. First, the federal government does not have the capacity anymore to manage the economy on the scale and way it is doing today. You're producing 1.3 million barrels of oil, right? Because you're trying to do it centrally. We have 147 oil wells in Edo. Only 53 or less are producing. So, except you create a new design where you ask the component parts of this country to go and take advantage of the economic opportunities they have, sweat the assets of this country, and pay what they need to pay to the central government. But for the central government to sit and try to micromanage the country and the assets of the country, it's just shown that it cannot. It just doesn't have the capacity.
You were saying that the government was printing money, and there were deniers about that. But it does look like months later, do you feel like there are things that this present government is also doing that are untoward, economically speaking?
I think for me, it's like this federal government is stuck in the past, because you cannot resolve a malignant problem using the same tools you have used through the years. It's not that the people there are not smart, it's not that they're stupid. It's more that they just don't have the courage to take some of the decisions that they need to be taken. The structure we have today, the problem of Nigeria today is structural. The structure we have is expired. It's outdated. We need a new structure to run the economy of the state.
So a restructuring must happen.
If we're just wasting time, if it doesn't happen, we're not going to move forward.
Let me bring you to something that you've said that a lot of people are bothered about. Why do you think that this election is a do or die affair?
It's a do or die because if they do, we die. If they do, we die. The level of impunity, the level of recklessness we see in the opposition party, if they take over Edo State, finish, that's the end.
But that's a very dangerous language that you have used. As a governor, a sitting governor,
yes.
When you tell your people and your followers that this election is a do or die, do you regret making that kind of statement?
Don't. If you know what has happened in the last few weeks, you'll worry for Nigeria. Just drive down the line. A former governor of the state has more security cover than a current sitting governor. Has 2 APCs, armored personnel carriers, in front of his premises. A former governor campaigning in the opposition part for the opposition, my opposition, is using police helicopters to campaign for the opposition in Nigeria. As I speak, all day today, you have armed policemen across the state trying to arrest political opponents.
Do you have evidence of such a person?
Definitely, but you played a video last night of one of the people that was almost been abducted, and for the luck he had with a woman who screamed out was released. At 2 a.m. today in Aganabode, 2 people were kidnapped or arrested. This afternoon again in Eastern Central, which attempted to. You can't run in the state.
But these are some of the people they say you are harboring. These are some of the people that the police say they are looking for.
For what?
They say that you are harboring them in the government house. If the police is investigating a murder of a police officer, why are you not allowing the police to do his job?
It's a joke. How can the police be so biased in its so-called investigation? A crime was committed a month and a half ago at an occasion organized and orchestrated by the opposition party. There was no member of PDP at that event. The IGP said he was investigating, and that's why he held people in detention without trial for over 3 weeks. Now, those charges were filed after pressure on the IGP. Do you know what they were charged for? They were not charged for murder. they were charged for illegal possession of firearms. You see, when you see such inconsistencies, it just tells you that, I mean, we are running, a very dangerous course.
So you don't have confidence in the police?
I mean, if you see what they have done, the evidence of what they have done, and the blatant way they've gone about it, it's like they forget that the police is being funded by taxpayers' money, Nigerian taxpayers' money. And they should just be a bit more professional and, and unbiased.
The opposition has said this is Godwin Obaseki, who is afraid of the fact that his party is going to lose this election. That's why he's crying foul.
No. It's that the opposition is setting up a ploy to rig these elections.
Your party has said that there are plans to rig these elections.
Yes.
Do you have evidence to that?
Yes.
Or this is just...
Yes, but the people will block them. I can assure you, you're in Benin, you will see. The people, why the intimidation of the opposition? Why the scaremongering?
When you say intimidation, how?
I'm telling you that there are teams, police teams on the prowl across the states trying to arrest opposition.
Is there anything that you are afraid of, Governor?
I'm not. Why should I be afraid of?
Where are those people in your government house? They say that they are searching for, but you keep...
Why are they searching for them?
Why are you not allowing them to be investigated?
Why should I allow people to be abducted? Based on what? And if you do, why not try them for the offenses where you claim that the offenses are, have taken place?
So you keep harboring them? Are you
because you cannot. I will not allow the police to come. And as chief security officer of Edo State, I have the responsibility to protect my citizens. If there is an offense, if there's issues relating to security in Edo State, then I think the Constitution says, as CEO, the chief security officer, whoever the command should work with me to ensure speedy trial and dispensation of justice.
So what you complained to General Abdul Salami has still not changed?
It hasn't changed.
Nothing has changed?
Nothing has changed.
You think that the opposition
what has
is
changed,
in cahoot with?
What has changed is that the people who were detained in Abuja were sent to court. And the court has now granted them bail. But more people are still being haunted and arrested.
To what end do you think this is all
It's just to threaten, to scare. You see, the opposition understands and know that we're going to defeat them mercilessly because they really haven't sold anything.
There is a path to victory for your party.
Clearly, what is the opposition selling? What is the APC government telling Edo people?
The political dynamics and all of there are those who believe that in Edo North, the APC will have a landslide. Where there is a Philip Shaibu.
No, Philip never won his election, so it's not an issue.
Let's look at someone who said he helped you. Without him, you would never become a governor.
Well, the help it wasn't justified in the votes we got from his place. But he seems consequential politically. Let's focus on Edo North. Edo North is made up of Akoko Edo, made up of the Onwas and the Esakos. And today, I clearly will, without missing words, know that half of Akoko Edo is clearly PDP. The only area that we may struggle, and I say may, is a few wards in Esako West. Outside that,
even in your own senatorial district, Obedient, they say, have taken over. Your party lost in the presidential election.
Yes.
So there are those who say the path to victory is unclear and is not there.
It's very, very clear.
Your candidate is going to be up against the sitting senator and against the...
It's very clear. We just finished a continuous voter registration exercise where we registered 175,000 new voters and transfers. That's, so if you look at the statistics and the data, I'll be shocked if we don't win these elections with a margin of almost 70%.
You don't think an Apata can mess you up in your own senatorial district? Well, because he's grown so popular.
Well, I don't know where the popularity is. Certainly not in Oredo, not in Ego, not in Ipobaka.
And you don't look at the trend of
40% of the votes come from.
Labour Party in the last election?
Well, yes, at the presidential election, there was sure, and we know why. But in subsequent elections, Labour has only one seat in the House of Assembly.
And you're not worried about your relationship also with the Oba of Benin? There was on the street about how things have gone sour between you and the royal house.
Nothing has gone sour. What we've tried to do is separate the traditional institution, which we revere so much, from our politics. Politicians try to drag the traditional institutions into politics for some advantage or the other. And so what we have done as a government is to separate this heritage we have from our politics. You can mess around with ourselves, but don't mess around with the traditional institutions.
But there are those who will say, yes, some Wike helped you the last time, he's not going to be on your side this time around. Is that a trouble for you? And he said that he's not going to support you this time around.
Well,
he showed you how to win the election the last time.
Well, he came to get Edo people to vote for me, right?
That's what he said.
Well, Edo people are not that dumb. They know who to vote for. They don't require the services of an outsider to make their decisions. And it's not going to happen. Edo people will make their decisions this time because they know what they want.
Are you worried about your relationships with your political associates? And how you have handled things? Do you regret some of the way your relationships have been?
For us to have made the progress we have made, try and understand what has happened over the years. We've shifted the basis of our politics. We've, the tensions you may have observed is because we've decided not to do things the way it has always been done. Revenues are limited. We've taken more of the revenues of government and made it available by providing more services to our people, like education, like health. So clearly someone who used to benefit without corresponding service or corresponding work is clearly likely not to be very happy with what we've done.
So you don't regret your fallout with an Adams Oshiomhole, a Philip Shoaibu, a Matthew Rohide, a Yinsome Wike, and the rest of the flock folks will abandon you, who were with you 7 years ago?
Well, so Nigeria has to change. There has to be a new thinking if we're going to make progress. The last 8 years have seen a fundamental shift and change in Edo State. I have almost 500,000 children who are now learning, who now have confidence, who now have a future. If that is the benefit of the fallout, I have no regrets. And I'll require more fallouts. So for us, politics should be about the people, not personalities. Politics should be about utilizing the resources available to people, which is not much anymore, for the greater good. So if people get angry that they've been prevented and stopped from misusing public revenues in the name of politics for the benefit of the people, and it's now being used for the benefit of the people, and that has created quarrel, then I believe it's in the best interest of our
Governor, we're totally out of time. But what would you say is the legacy you want to leave behind as a governor of the state?
I want the world to know that I came in as governor with Edo at the bottom, and I'm leaving as governor having moved Edo from that bottom to a place where it now has pride, it now has realized its potentials, and I'm going to be, by the grace of God, handing over to somebody who's going to take it even much higher so that our people can live their lives to the fullest. Yeah. Because this is a land that has truly been blessed by God.
Quickly, the opposition says they will beat you mercilessly. They will give your party a bloody nose. The APC is very confident. The Labour Party is confident about that. That you do not have a chance, and Asue Godalo is not in this race. That's what the opposition is saying.
Well, they must be daydreaming. On the 21st, we'll see.
All right, Governor, just as we close, just in 20 seconds, if you look at the camera, as the governor of Edo State, the people of the state who go out on Saturday to vote, a sentence to them about how important this election is.
On Saturday, 21st of September, we will be deciding whether Edo wants to move forward or move backwards. The only person I know today in the ballot that I'm confident can take Edo to that next level, just to move it to that next level, is Asue Godalo. And I hope and I know that Edo people will vote for him.
Governor Obaseki, Governor of Edo State, thank you so much indeed for your time tonight. I appreciate it. And I wish you and your political party the best of luck.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. The continuing coverage of the Edo governorship election is right here on Channels Television. We're covering every part of this day, and we're bringing you updates. We're indeed ubiquitous because we have you covered on TV, online, and on social media. And that's our show tonight. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.